Hello, everyone. I am so very blessed to have this conversation today with Jeff. He and I had a conversation last week that I think many of you know brought me to tears, literally the whole time. And it was in that moment that I just asked, I said, would you want to go live and share your perspective on your lived experience and really speak to the depth of how we can create change outside? As somebody who might not live with a disability, how can we understand and how can we gather together to really bring back the unification of community and help support those who do live with different disabilities, and how to, again, not separate ourselves so far, which is what I think we often do as a society. So today I am joined by Jeff Van Dyke. He started as a volunteer in 2028 and earned the Stephen A. Silky Volunteer of the Year Award in 2019, which was really a momentum driver into his purpose driven career. He now serves as a graphic designer specialist and peer mentor and help manages the DNWM's social media page, where he co presents on various topics about how to really support DEI and advocacy, and really just a variety of topics that really bring more awareness to the disability community, and even the obstacles that they encounter. He's an artist, a writer, and that's how we met. Actually, we met through a colleague of mine from the Outlier Project who helped put together this book, this beautiful book of stories with people who live beyond what they've been diagnosed with. And he's an adaptive athlete. So, Jeff, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's it's so great to see you here and just have this conversation with someone who's so passionate about making a difference in all different walks of life. Especially, it's always important, but especially nowadays when we're kind of overwhelmed with all the things that are happening, it's always nice to meet someone who's filled with a light that's willing to use their own light as a beacon for everybody else.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Don't get me started on, like, again, tears, because we were talking right before hopping in, and, just really I want to dive right into that because, there were comments made, and while I don't talk the P word on here, I do want to bring out your perspective of how certain things can feel when you're hearing them, because you so beautifully said what you said before we hopped in. So, can you just dive right back into what we were talking about?
So first, I guess I should mention that I was born with cerebral palsy.
Mhm,
You can't see, but I'm a wheelchair user. So for those that might not know, cerebral palsy is a neurological condition that can affect people in a wide variety of ways. So some people have it and they can speak, while other people they're unable to walk. Well, some people may have limited movement. Um, they may use AAC devices, which are uh, adaptive communication devices. So, really, I wanted to point out that um, for people with cerebral palsy, it all looks different for everyone.
mhm,
Just like disability, it can be invisible, it can be visible. A person can have both visible and invisible disabilities.
mhm,
It just depends. So, one out of every four Americans, in fact, have a disability of some kind. So just keeping that in mind. And what we were talking about before, as we hopped on, when we were talking about the comments made in the press conference by the president and RFK Jr., who have a tendency to label people with disabilities, sometimes directly or indirectly, as tragedies or less than or something to be cured or fixed.
mhm,
And let's just put it in a polite way and say that's really problematic. People with disabilities are people first. Um, we all have a wide range of skill sets, whether you have a disability or not. Some of us are better at other things, or some things than others. And people with disabilities were not born to be fixed.
Mm,
There's nothing fixed. People in general, whether they have a diagnosis or not, are whole. You
mhm,
don't need uh, prerequisite criteria in order to be worthwhile or deserving of life.
mm,
Um, it's very dangerous, and whether you're a person with a disability on the LGBTQ spectrum, a different minority group, um, you already face so many societal and emotional and um, environmental barriers as it
mhm,
is, and to know that the people who are in charge of policy making are kind of blacklisting you
mhm,
as less than, just adding on to the stress and the strain. It's
mm.
really important that we get back to the humanity in humans
Yeah,
and not belittling people or labeling them as less than just because you don't understand what all goes into living a certain way.
yeah. Well, and you had even said every version, I wrote it down, every version of what's worthwhile, like a worthwhile life, looks different,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that that's something that I think even, we all struggle with what does a perfect quote unquote life look like? And what I'm hearing you say is that there doesn't need to be perfection in our lives, just simply being who we are.
I think I think all people need to hear this, whether it's you have a disability or not. We are all our own definition of perfection.
Mhm,
So we all have imperfect qualities about us, things that we can improve, things that we can work on, things that we look back on that we wish we would have done things maybe a little bit different. But
mhm,
ultimately that's part of growth and that's part of being human. And so we need people to remember and be reminded not of our faults, but of our possibilities.
mm,
And within each of us lives a a potential to be more than what we are. Um,
mhm.
but more than that, we also need people to remind us that we are enough as it is.
Yeah.
So, so who you are right now is enough. Can you improve on that? Can you enhance what's there? Yes, but you need to enhance, or we need to enhance things to improve, not to erase who we are, or
Mm,
to diminish who we are, but to bring it out more to the forefront. Because I believe that each one of us, no matter where you find yourself in the current moment, including people with disabilities, um, we're born with something inside of us that the world needs. Maybe you don't know what it is as an individual yet, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
mm,
And maybe you're an artist, maybe you draw something that the world needs to see. Maybe you're a speaker, you speak, or a writer, you write, or you're an advocate and you work, you know, do advocacy type things like lobbying and different things like that. Or, we all have something, even if we don't know what it is. So we really need to get back to reminding each other about potential instead of problems. We all have
mm,
problems. That's part of being alive. But to to have problems isn't the same as being a problem. Like
mm.
they're not exclusive, mutually exclusive with each other.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know if you realize how powerful your words are in a time where we are seeing so much struggle, division, and a hardship. And that was part of what, prompted me to bring you on was you're an artist and just the depth of your soul, first of all, is portrayed in such a light, this beautiful light way. But you had showed showed me and shared with me a photo that you drew recently of 2 hands holding a broken heart with a Band-Aid across. And me, I just literally melted in that moment, just tearing up because I already felt what you were trying to convey. And I would love to ask you, where and when did that piece come together for you, and what was the motivation?
You know, to be honest, I'm not sure when it came together exactly since this last, what is it? This is gonna be October.
Yeah, October,
So,
almost, yeah.
um, so it's been 7-ish months of nonstop
Yeah.
news cycle that is is really heavy and really hard to hear.
Yeah.
Um, so I just want to remind people, I guess, when I made it, of the power that they possess. You can't control everything around you, but
Mhm.
you can what you do. You can control what's within you. Um, like, for example, maybe there's a politician in some state or uh, in charge that you disagree with. You can't change their mind, but what you can do is you can use the energy that you have and the time that you have toward helping the person beside you. Uh, so, um, we really have to be mindful of where we put our energy right now. Well, always, but right now, because think of your energy like currency. There's only so much in a day, and some people don't care how much they take from you. Uh, Literally, they'll take it, take it, take it. So you really need to be mindful of where you put your energy, because you can run out. And if you don't put like the saying goes, if you don't put the oxygen mask on yourself first, you can't save anybody else. So,
Right.
um, I really wanted to remind people in the midst of turmoil and hardship that we still have the power to heal each other. Um, you can't change everything in a day, but you can change the day for somebody else. Um,
Mhm.
whether it's through your words, actions, or what you put out into the world, you can change someone else's day. So we have the power to be the band-aid that we're looking for. Uh,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
you can't make other people see your perspective, but you can help them feel um, the hope that comes from your perspective.
Yeah.
Uh, so
I agree. Yeah. I agree, and I often say that we heal in everyday conversations. Like, there's a lot of healing that happens just from remembering who we are, the essence of who we are. Like, you and I having the conversation was very moving to my soul, and just, I think that the more that we get to know other people in our community, like, whether that's the person that lives next door, the person that's standing in line, like what you're saying is the ability to see the human again in our
yeah,
humanity. And the more that we come together in those ways, we can live in the world when it's going through all this turmoil and change, and provide hope to each other, is what I'm hearing you say. And that was, I mean, when you said it, you were like, the world doesn't need to be this way. That was a breaking moment in our conversation where you were I'm sure you remember I was just crying. I couldn't hold it back any longer. I was like, "Okay, I'm trying not to just lose it," but it just moved me in such a way because it's a great reminder of the power within us to create that change. And that's what you were saying, is like, we really can do so much for each other, and it doesn't always have to be on this big scale of
no,
things. It can literally be, saying hi to the person next to you, or even just being a supportive neighbor, paying attention. I was talking about this with somebody recently. One of the things that I really valued out of living in California was it was the first time we knew our neighbors. Like, they all came together and, like, brought us different things when we moved in, and we were like, "What is going on?" Like, I don't think I've known my neighbors in years. Same thing when we got here, we have a couple of neighbors that did the same thing. And so, I guess, like, I'm sharing all of that because it's like, wow, how far have we come? I remember when I was a kid, I don't know, like, we knew half of our neighbors at least.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, so I would love to get into some of the work that you do, and also, if somebody is struggling to be heard, it doesn't, in life in general, where can they begin to really share?
You know, I guess I'll answer the 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 first part first. So I work at a nonprofit center for independent living. We are Disability Network West Michigan, but there are several uh, nonprofit centers for independent living all across the country that do similar work that we do. Uh, we are designed by and for persons with disabilities. And our mission is to advocate, educate, and empower and provide resources for people that are looking for such help.
Mhm,
Um, so really, the short answer to that is our mission as an organization and my personal mission is to use our experiences and the knowledge and the resources we have to help those who need it. Like you said, give a place to start. Uh, ear to listen, ear to talk to. May point out some things within the community that can help them through like peer groups and other things like that. But for me, I was as an individual, even before I started working, I was that person too. So um,
mhm,
I was that person that graduated high school with nowhere to turn.
mhm,
That I felt like I had nowhere to turn because when it came to disability, I felt like I straddled the fence. You
mhm,
know, I have a physical disability, but mentally I didn't meet the criteria, so I wasn't disabled enough. So, like, where do I go?
mhm,
So for me, what I did was I went to Google. I mean, that's where I started, and I ended up calling a local rehabilitation place here, and I kind of shared my story, and one thing led to another, and I ultimately started volunteering and things like that. But it's my journey was deeper than that because in addition to CP, I also have a severe anxiety disorder.
mm,
So I had like I was dealing with like major panic attacks for like ages. Like instead of talking to someone, I'd rather like hide under a table. That seems safer to me. Um, but you know, with the help of um, medication, with the help of some of the people that worked with me, my anxiety has gotten like worlds better. Um, um, but it takes time, and it's not a it's not a straight line either. It's a winding road. So sometimes I say that to share that uh, sometimes recovery or healing is one step forward and two steps back. Just because you took a step forward today doesn't mean you won't take a step back tomorrow. Doesn't mean that you won't step forward again. So
mm,
um, healing is continuous. And we really need to remind people that recovery looks different for everybody. Um, there are a lot of trauma and a lot of things that people are trying to heal from, um, physically, emotionally, uh, childhood trauma, all kinds of different things. And a lot of these things you don't know about. Um, so people really need, if they can, like you were saying with the neighbor situation and stuff, step outside of yourself. Uh, as hard as it is, because right now we have a world to me that looks like we're so caught up in our own views, in our own thoughts, in our own baggage, that we forget that the person beside us is in that same world. Maybe not the same way exactly, but they're in the same world. So I think you can find healing by reaching out. Um, like for example, a real world example is you sending the message. I think it's you that sent a message to me first.
Mhm.
I had no idea where the message would go, but he sends a message to me. Always try to respond to him. Just because you never know where that conversation will lead. In one conversation, all you can get hundreds of no's in your life, but all it'll take is one yes to change your life.
Mhm.
Uh, that's what happened to me on my work journey, and that's what happened with this conversation with you. Uh, uh, you make you make the strongest connections in the most unexpected of ways.
Mhm.
So when you bring that back to the human side of things, um, we need to remember that we're all one phone call, one message, one knock on the door away from a totally different life.
Right.
It's up to you if it's that's a good thing or not. Uh, You
Yeah.
have to really you never know opportunities are gonna come along, and sometimes they come around along unexpectedly, but you really have to seize the opportunity. But more importantly than that, you really have to see the opportunity. Uh,
Mhm.
like for example, life with a lifelong disability like
Mhm.
me. There's no cure that's coming. Uh, it's it's not progressive in medical nature, but uh, in terms of severity, like it's not what's the word? Not deadly. Um, but but some of the symptoms will inevitably, get worse. Um, but with that opportunity, and I do choose the word opportunity carefully, uh, came a came a foundation for me. Uh,
Mhm.
Ability is a foundation upon which I've built my life with it. I don't know if I'd have this level of empathy and concern for others if I hadn't felt so much hardship for myself. So disability is a foundation
Mhm.
of of my strength of
Mhm.
as a person. It's not the end of the story. It's just part of it. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah. Uh,
Wow. I just love how you said that's the foundation of your strength, which is something that, I think people that are listening can relate to this in any form of that. Sometimes our hardest hardships or the things that are most challenging in our lives really do provide us a foundation of understanding, and it can really guide us forward in such a beautiful way when we allow it to. And I think it is all a matter of perspective, right? Like we have to have that choice to look at things differently. And you're one of those people that you've said this more than once in conversation with me, that you're like, I'm a voice for those who can't speak, because
y-
you're always saying like, yeah, this is challenging and this is hard, but like I know that somebody else has it harder. And so I would love to, I do want to ask you a couple of questions about your work and your mission and how people can step forward to help. Is there anything that you can share with people who are listening and they're like, I want to get involved to help support those who might not have the support they need, that is in your network?
I think the biggest thing you can do right now is volunteer places.
Hmm.
Uh, Volunteer places. Vote in your local and state elections. If you see something that might look like it affects people with disabilities or other minorities, try to educate yourself about what you're seeing. Send me a message. Uh, you know, start that conversation. I'll tell you how this might affect people in this community. Um, it never hurts to ask. You never know where it'll lead and what you can learn. Um, Another thing you can do is, you know, if you don't know something, don't be afraid to come up to someone and say hi. You know, a, a big thing that you see, especially when it comes to people with disabilities in public, is a lot of the older people grew up in a time where you were told not to stare, not to look, not
Mhm.
to uh, disturb people or ask uh, questions. Well, well, that's well intended. It doesn't help anything. If
Mhm.
you if you're with a little kid, or even if you have questions, go ahead use your kid as the scapegoat. Send, send them up to ask the question. Um, you know, the only way to learn something is to try to actively learn it. And there's no question that you can ask me. I don't think that I haven't been asked before. So have those conversations. You see someone in a wheelchair in public, I can't speak for everybody, but I can say I don't mind those questions. Because the earlier you get to chip away at those stereotypes and those stigma,
Mhm.
the less likely those children will grow up to be afraid of the next person with a difference they see. We need
Mhm.
to we need to get that into people's um, thought process at an earlier age instead of later. There's so many people that think disability is a negative. Now, I'm not saying there's not some negative things to it, like uh, maybe a bathroom stall that's too narrow, where you have to get out of your chair to crawl into the stall because it doesn't fit. Or maybe there's one accessible stall, and the person just happens to sit on that toilet for 45 minutes. It's the only place for you to pee. Good thing is you brought a chair, so you'll be fine. Your legs won't get tired. Um, but no, you there- there's annoyances, but there's annoyances with anything.
Mm.
Like just this morning, uh, going into my appointment, there was a accessible van. This is the funny part. They decided to park what the word be like horizontally in front of the parking spaces. Yeah, while she was cleaning the door, like like hello. Like, you're an accessible land, go park somewhere. Other people need to too. Or when people decide to park their cars in front of the one curb cutout. So if you guys are listening and you don't know what a curb cutout is, it's the one little missing space in a sidewalk or or approaching area, whatever the word would be,
Right.
where you can get up onto the concrete. And there's usually only one of those, maybe two. But sometimes people decide to park their car right in front of it. Like you can fly over their cars.
I mean, you might be able to. I was gonna ask you, briefly, like, um, what drew you to being a part of the book, and what part of your journey do you wanna share, with those that are listening today?
What drew me to be a part of the book, honestly, was I had a friend that was in the one of the other legacy books, um, Jackie Helberg. Um,
Mhm.
she was in a book before, and we actually worked in the same office. So her organization was at the other end of the hallway, and she saw some of my writing on Facebook and stuff, so she kept um, pestering me, saying I should be in this book that Nick was working on. So I decided to reach out to Nick, and I decided to do it, even though I had no prior like professional
Mhm.
writing experience. I really had no idea what I was getting into, but I just decided, whatever, I'll just try it. So I guess you could say I got involved in it with peer pressure. Um,
The good kind.
uh, but the reason why I decided to continue writing, and if you follow my Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever, is because I want to keep the conversation going. Uh, I'm not afraid to talk about the topics and subject matter that might make other people uncomfortable. Um, I feel like this is a time to put my words and actions, uh, to use. Um, with everything that's happening around us, I may not be able to change everything, but you can't shut me up either. So um, as long as as long as I can affect one person in a positive way, uh, help change their perspective, maybe introduce them to something new that they haven't thought of before, then it's well well worth it. I feel like I was born with a purpose to try to make change, and I'm driven to use whatever avenue I have available to me, and and any connection that I have to try to make that change. I don't want to just affect people that look at my work or writing or whatever. I want to help change people. Uh, I want to affect people. It's not about money. It's not about platform. It's not about followers. All those things will come naturally, eventually. If
Mhm.
they do, whatever. Um, but it's about it's about affecting other people. To me, it's about remembering what it was like to sit in a room by yourself, alone, feeling like you don't have any option to or any hope, and remembering what that feels like and putting those feelings to use.
Mm.
I couldn't for myself at the time, but I will exhaust every opportunity I have uh, and every platform I have to try and ensure that those that come after me don't have to deal with it the same way.
Mm.
That's all the answers, but I do know a solution that we each have, and that is each other. And so the more I can do that, um, it's that's what my goal is.
Yeah. Well, and it's a pretty, I feel like we share that goal, my friend. It's, the more that we can help each other really well, the more we help ourselves see ourselves, then we can see others, right? And I think like I said, the reason why I was just so drawn to sharing your message is because it comes from such a purity and a purity of heart. And it's like this divine reminder that there is hope and that you can truly live with any experience in this life and see the opportunity forward, which isn't always easy to hear in the moment. And I know that. And it doesn't start out that way necessarily, I don't think. Not always. Some people very naturally drawn to that. But I think, the ability to really move through and use anything we view as a quote perceived weakness. What if we did turn that into a strength? What if we did, see that as the opportunity and the broken barrier ahead, Um how long have you been doing art? I or what were you wanting to say? Sorry.
Well, no, I'll answer that also, but the one thing I would say in addition to that, because I think you're right, the one thing I would say to perceived weaknesses is usually they're not weaknesses at all. People just haven't ran across the right support to
Mm,
help them uh, turn that into a strength. Because oftentimes it's not about, okay, how do we, what's a real world example that would simplify this? So, uh, one thing that a person with limited finger dexterity, for those that don't know what that is, that's like moving your fingers, um, um, might have trouble with is not being able to button a shirt on their own.
mm,
Is the problem? that their hands don't work to button the shirt, or is it that they haven't found the right tool to help them button their shirt? So, so people need the right tools and supports around them. And if I had one within reach, I thought I did, but I don't because I don't see it. There's a button hook type thing where it has like a handle like a screwdriver, and it has like an opening, and you push it through the hole, and you can grab the buttons and pull it through um, as an adaptive tool. Um, and I was gonna show that, but I can't find it
That's
within reach.
yeah.
But my point was, we don't have weaknesses. We just have um, skills that we haven't developed yet, or we don't have the right people around us to show us how to adapt that specific skill set into something we can work with. So the power to make change exists in all of us, and also in the connections we have around us. So I
Mm,
just want to for the people that feel like they have a weakness that you know they haven't found a solution to yet. Just because it's not knocking on your door yet doesn't mean it's not coming. So stay the course and you know
mm,
experiment with it. With it. Um, but to answer your artwork question, I am 37.
mhm.
Yeah, uh, yeah, 38. Um, and I've been making artwork for probably a good chunk of my life. So probably since I was about 5 or 6.
Wow.
Um, I spent a lot of time in hospitals and things. So I've had about uh 30-ish surgeries or so.
Wow.
Um, and so drawing and creating was always like a outlet. Even when
Mhm,
I didn't what to say or how to say it, it was kind of like an equalizer um, in a sense. So um, I don't know how many of you people, how many listeners out there have heard of the book, the children's book, Chocolate Triple Hippo. That was the first cover that I remember drawing when I was like 5. I'm sure my mom had the picture roaming around here somewhere. Um, but that was the first thing I remember drawing. And ever since then, art has just been it's something I did to kind of express myself, and also, yeah, it was mostly just to express myself at the
mhm,
time. Nowadays, my work has kind of evolved. Uh,
mhm,
now I do it more. Now I do it also not only to express myself, but also to send messages.
mhm,
To send messages of hope to other people. To remind the world of what it's capable of. Not as a person with a disability necessarily. I mean,
mhm,
that's part of the story, but as a person in general. Because, like you said a few minutes ago, um, I view having a voice in this position not as a right, but a personal responsibility.
mm,
There's so many people with disabilities that go unheard, or they literally can't speak. So I feel it's up to those of us with a voice or with a platform to speak up for them, um, to make generations, to help coming generations, because disability specifically is um, the only community that you can join at any time. Um, it doesn't discriminate. Um, it you can if you live long enough, you will acquire a disability. It's
mm,
not it's not if. It's when. So
yeah,
we everything you can do to promote accessibility and uh, diversity and inclusion and equity now helps you down the road. You may
mm,
not see it, but it will affect you. At some point, you're gonna wish there was a ramp on that building, or, or that there was another accessible stall, or uh, maybe there was I don't know, like there's a, a parking space open, uh, because it's gonna be you, or it's gonna be somebody you care about at some point. That's that's not an opinion; it's a fact. So
Oh,
we we need people to remember to have foresight for for each other, um, and we need to remember the laws that you change today, or rules that you change today to help you today. That you think, it won't affect me. It's going to.
mhm.
It, so we really need to get back to. We said it a bunch of times here, but I think it's important to repeat the humanity of it, uh,
Yeah.
the togetherness. You know, you can go a lot quicker by yourself, but you can go a lot further if you have somebody beside you. So um, we're all just walking each other home again. Uh,
Mm,
so so
yeah. Well,
we
see, everybody, this is why I wanted you to come on here because it's not only that you speak for disability, what I also hear you speaking for is humanity and the message of hope and healing through that, really, that vehicle. And, you're right. Like, disability doesn't discriminate. And you never know what life will hand you or who you care about that it might happen to, too. And, so one of the last things I always ask everyone that goes live is what is one message that you hope people take away from today?
one of the things that I hope you take away from this is that to change your mind, like to be open to different ideas that you may not have thought of before. To remember that we're not here for a long time. That legacy matters. How you treat people and how your interactions, they matter way more than the money in your bank account or the position on your name tag. Uh, we're all leaders, and it's time to start acting like you know leaders. Um, it,
Right.
because what we've lost is compassion for each other, and we really need people to focus on that. And I hope if you take anything away from me, it's what's possible.
Mm,
That you're possible. That uh, tomorrow can be better. Uh, but it starts with you.
mhm,
Uh, that one conversation can change your life. So be careful to who you say no to. But also to protect your energy, uh, like it's a currency, because it is. Um, to know that you are deserving of all the love that you try to give. Uh, to to remember that labels are always gonna come, but it's how you define yourself that really matters. And the real definition of who you are is how you treat the person beside you, not
mhm.
anything. Don't overcomplicate it. Um,
Not us, not humans. We would not overcomplicate anything. Oh, I just appreciate your love and your light and the possibility and hope that you bring. And we didn't even dive halfway into the things that I was going to ask you, but that's okay. I think that your message was so needed. And I knew that. I knew that coming in today that, again, speaking with you, I just did not realize the depth to which my heart would move. And again, just being able to share your message of hope and healing and possibility. So thank you for your time. As like you said, time is valuable, our energy is valuable. How can people connect with you if they would like to? What's the best way?
So first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you for connecting with me, and thank you for um, giving me a new friend. Um, and and for those that want to connect with me, you can connect with me on uh, Facebook, LinkedIn. My name is the same. It's not gonna change. Um, um, but I'm gonna speak with someone soon. I hope to try to open up a website to
Mhm.
to get a little more accessible because I want to take the message on a bigger scale. Um,
Mhm.
that's my that's my hope. Um, so that's in progress. Hopefully, somebody will be able to help me with that.
Yeah,
But for now, like I said, Facebook and LinkedIn, Instagram, I'm there on all the places. Yeah, come by, say hi, send a message. Be, you know, be good to yourselves and each other, and that's the last thing I'll say.
I love it. Well, I appreciate it, and I hope that you get many inquiries about helping you build a website and other speaking opportunities that can really elevate the community and humanity. Because again, your voice is something that others need to hear, and hopefully, anybody listening that has any of those connections will reach out to you so that we can help bring this forward to a better future. So thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who listened in. And I'll make sure that all of your information is listed. So if anybody wants to connect with you one on one, they can. But everybody else, I guess we'll see you next time. So thank you.